Hey, hi folks. Am I audible? Yes, perfect. Thank you. I do have a bad throat. Sorry, it's because of the Bangalore weather. We are seeing 3 seasons in a single day, so it's causing my throat to, kitch. Okay, so now what is e6data? So e6data is a lakehouse compute native engine built on Kubernetes and Carpenter, which can be deployed on AWS. Majority in real time, right? Customer will have multiple data platforms. They would be using multiple use cases and all those stuff. Some of the use cases will be running perfectly awesome. It would be super fast. Everything would be efficient. But there would be certain workloads where you would be facing a high concurrency problem, or the query latencies are super high and all those things. That's where exactly e6data fits in. We enable you to use your applications with high concurrency under low latency and lower TCO costs. And if you see on the right-hand side, e6data is built on the open table formats, open data stack basically, which is nothing but we support all sorts of table formats, data catalogs, and the governance layer. Be it any governance layer, we do support it. Okay, now, why e6data plus Amazon S3 tables with Iceberg? So let me touch briefly upon why Iceberg came into picture, what are the problems it's solving for, and what is Lakehouse and everything. If you have seen in traditional data engineering space, you would have the data flowing from the application, and then you would have Spark in the picture, and then you would be writing the data into S3 in the form of, you would have a medallion architecture there, of course, and then you would write the data in bronze, silver, and gold. Earlier, you would write everything in bronze layer, and if there is any update comes into the picture, right, or you want to delete the record, you have to rewrite the entire data, right? There was no other way, which was consuming a lot of resources, lot of time, and everything. That's where Iceberg said, I am going to solve that particular problem. Don't worry about deletion, just do a delete, I'll take care of it. Just run a delete command, just do an update command, I'll take care of it. That's where Iceberg came into picture. Now, be it on the traditional data engineering space, you would have this particular thing. Spark can write into Iceberg table in the bronze layer and everything. But what was the overhead? You need to manage that metadata layer, right? Which was consuming a lot of resources, which was taking a lot of time. As Sandeep rightly mentioned, right? Compaction was becoming a problem, because if compaction was not done right in a right day or a right time, your applications will take a hit. That's when you will see low latency and everything. For that, you need to have a lot of things, like I need to make a skew of it and all those stuffs. With this, with Iceberg, everything is solved. You will have a separate job for compaction, removal of orphan nodes, or snapshot management and everything. To solve all those problems, S3 tables came into picture. It helped us to solve all the problems. Now I need to not worry about, okay, when did my compaction run? Did it run or not? Did my orphan find removals? Did it remove or not? Because it's going to add to my storage cost. Did it run? Again, I have to set an alerts and all those things for it. It's a lot of things which I have to manage, right? Or my team needs to manage. So we thought about when S3 came into picture, S3 tables came into picture, we thought of like, okay, let's chuck everything. Let's build our data lake on top of it. So which is working perfectly amazing, perfectly fine for us. And now, when we moved our data into S3 tables, right, there were multiple ways, or we have a way to connect to it via an IRC, which is nothing but Iceberg REST catalog. e6data can directly connect to an Iceberg REST catalog and then query the data seamlessly. Of course, adhering the lakehouse formation, rules which you have defined, e6data will be able to adhere that as well. Internally, why and how are we using S3 tables, right? As I mentioned earlier, we are a lakehouse native compute engine. That means our customers will be running their queries with however they want, and they would want to see some sort of analytics on top of it. When I say analytics, that could be for a given use case on a given day, what is my latencies of the queries? How many failures were there? why it failed, who shot the query. Those kinds of analytics needs to be provided, right? With this, when we moved our entire data lake from the general purpose storage compute to S3 tables, we saw, I'll come back to this slide in some time, we saw a huge performance gains in our production environment. Our P95 dashboard latency was 65 seconds, and it came down to 22 seconds. We saw nearly a 3x improvement. We had a nightly maintenance job. It could be, it could run once a day or twice a day, depending on how the data is flowing in, right? So that thing was also completely taken out, so we are not worrying about anything. We are not scheduling any other jobs. We are not worrying about the jobs failure and all those stuff. AWS is handling those things for us. Now, going back to a simple, the query history architecture which we have followed. So in a query history, you would have, as I mentioned, right, we are a Lakehouse native compute engine. When you shoot a query, the things which we are going to capture is the start time of the query, end time of the query, run time of the query, along with the query, the entire query, who ran the query and all those stuff, everything will be captured. So from the e6data application layer, we are using the Firehose. So Firehose is helping us to write the data directly into S3 tables. From there, we are going to connect to e6data, so we can use it for the analytics and BI tools monitoring. Earlier, this particular flow was very complex. It was, you need to have a Kafka or an MSK or anything, and on top of it, you need to have a streaming layer because we want the data in runtime. So Kafka, and then Spark came into picture, and then we used to write the data into general purpose, and then a lot of optimization and computation are required. So to solve all those things, we are going with this architecture with Firehose and S3 tables, where everything is managed by those folks. And yeah, the performance gains is perfectly fine. We do have a simple demo of it. I'm not sure whether, how do I start this? Oh, okay. So here you can see this is e6data query editor. We have connected to the S3 tables. We are running the data of TP-CDS1 TB on Iceberg. And as you can see, the performance which we are seeing is in seconds and sub-second latencies. So at the end, what are the key benefits which we have got from S3 tables? Zero pipeline complexity. As I mentioned earlier, right? Earlier it was Kafka, you need to manage Kafka. If the payload increases, you need to oversize that, and then Spark, you need to oversize that accordingly, and then all those stuff. So with this, directly lands the data into Iceberg table. Configuration driven, which is one more added benefit which we have. No need to maintain any separate jobs for it, because it's just you need to configure it, like when do you want to run the compaction, after how many inserts you need to run the compaction, everything will be taken care. And high performance, as you are not maintaining any data, any state, right? So Iceberg enable fast reads and schema evolution without any downtime. You don't need to do anything. It's just configuration changes you need to play around, and then, yeah, that's it. And of course, yeah, cost effective, because the reduced infrastructure and operational overhead, you are reducing your cost because you are not maintaining too many components. And last but not the least, as the data goes in today's world, right? As and when the day goes, the data is the only thing, only source of truth. The data volume keep on growing every day, right? So to handle those things, we are here to help you folks. Along with AWS and S3 tables, we will understand if your use case is struggling with some sort of latencies or anything. With AWS, S3 tables, and e6data, we'll be happy to talk to you and address and solve these problems. And yep, that's it. Thank you.